Right now that it's 5:30, we'll call the meeting to order. Mike, could you please take roll call for attendance? Josh and Kate, can you hear us?
It's a table.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, good.
Maybe it's because I fell already.
Dr. Gerard,
Present.
Dr. Ware,
Present.
Frank Boron,
Present.
Scott Chapdelaine, Kate Lambert,
Present.
you're her, Tanya Roman.
Present.
Maria Flam,
Present.
Joshua Clark,
He's on.
Present.
Carissa Lisi,
Here,
Mike Sarnelli.
Here.
Stephen Morno,
Here.
Katie Collins Calba. Katie, can you hear us? You're muted, I believe. I don't know if Katie can hear us.
he is here.
Stan Kozakos.
Present.
You have a quorum.
Okay. Sorry, I could hear you. I just couldn't unmute it. Sorry.
Okay, can you hear us now, Katie?
Yes, I could hear you before. I just couldn't unmute it. I got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, first item on the agenda is the approval of minutes for the October 10th meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Wait for Mike to,
Ready?
okay, ready? Take roll call.
Doug Gerard,
Yes.
Dr. Ware,
Yes.
Boron,
Yes.
Kate Lambert,
Yes.
Tanya Roman,
Yes.
Marie LaFlamme,
Yes.
Joshua Clark,
Yes.
Carissa Lisi.
Yes.
Michael Sarnelli,
Abstain. I wasn't here.
Stephen Morno.
Yes.
Katie Collins Calba,
Yes.
Dan Kozakowski.
Yes.
And Scott, do you want to vote on the minutes?
No.
Right, stay. Pass, motion passes.
There's no communications right now. So we'll move on to the approval of invoices. We have one invoice that was submitted. From Colliers. Dated, October 31st. For services. In the amount of $12,962.50. Anybody have any questions with regards to the invoice? Seeing
I
none.
move to approve.
Second.
Ready for roll call, Mike?
Okay, Doug Gerard,
Yes.
Dr. Ware.
Yes.
Frank Boron,
Yes.
Scott Chapdelaine.
Yes.
Kate Lambert,
Yes.
Roman,
Yes.
Maria LaFlamme,
Yes.
Joshua Clark,
Yes.
Yes.
Michael Sarnelli.
Yes.
Stephen Morno.
Yes.
Katie Collins Calba,
Yes.
Stanley Kozakowski.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Moving on to the,
Discussion.
Designation of a small group to
designation of
sign.
small group for
You want me
sign.
to talk about that?
Yeah.
I requested that to be on the agenda. We move forward, there's gonna be a lot more bills, a lot more time. It's difficult to get everybody's signature. So I was wondering if this committee would consider a smaller group. We would all approve, everybody approve, but consider having for signatures, maybe 3 or 4 people instead of everybody, once it's approved. Because the thing is, we have our meetings on a Thursday and I gotta get the bills in on the warrants by Monday midday. So that would mean Friday running around getting everybody's signature. So if I could get some that are closer and available, it would make life a little easier.
To sign the bills on behalf of the committee.
Okay,
So that was just a request. And again, it would only be after the whole committee approves the bills.
They'd be able to sign electronically, though, wouldn't they, or
We're not
Okay,
set up
do
for
for-
that right now.
do it
Where's
for
the bearing?
planning? Payroll, like an e-sign. That would make it a lot easier for.
Yeah. But again, it was just a consideration if there's a few of us could do it,
Mhm.
just to keep it moving and I get it on literally the next warrant.
How many do you think, Marie?
How many is the committee? How many are we?
12,
12.
13.
13.
I would say at least 4, maybe. I mean, it's gonna be after everybody approves it, so it's up to you.
Normally, it's
What
not a
about-
problem, it's not a problem unless people are doing Zoom meetings or not coming to the meeting.
Right, what about, now we have the sign, the sheets that you would just bring to the meeting at
Yeah.
night to just sign, right? Where we
Right.
would,
But what if people don't all come
Right.
and we're still finding them? So I will have it that night. So there could be 4 or 5 of us, I mean, but
Well, you best like chair, vice chair, because they're typically always here if one isn't, the other is, so you might. probably make it easy.
Marie, this may be valuable. I'm sorry to interrupt if there's somebody that was talking, but and this may have been just a COVID thing, but for the City Hall Building Commission, I just signed the warrant and we didn't circulate it out to everybody else. And so I don't know if that's something that Carissa can just sign on behalf of the building commission, or if we really just need everybody to come in there and sign, but I signed for the commission when we did City Hall.
I would feel better if a couple of us signed that warrant. That's just my feeling, but leave it, just,
I'm fine with whatever the commission wants to do. Obviously, I mean, it probably should be signed by the chair and or the vice chair.
And
Probably the
Brady
school
also.
superintendent,
I-
and
I
then my
will
recommendation would
agree with
probably be Frank. Cause if he's not at a meeting, he can easily run down to City Hall.
Yep.
The
And
next
if
day,
Someone locally that works
like,
in
you know,
the city.
somebody like in the city or Scott,
so if we need 4, there's 1, 2,
Dr.
3,
Ware.
and 4.
Or-
Or
or-
4.
That's like, you make
I,
that.
I just have one question, okay, so that means like every month we meet, okay?
Yeah.
Well, like in my situation, there's 1 month I know I will not be physically, would that hold the bills up because one of the 4 is
Can it be
not?
like the chair or in the absence of the
Oh,
chair, the
is-
vice chair?
I think it can be how we vote on it,
Okay.
you know, because we're literally voting, everybody's voting.
Mhm.
It's
So-
just the signature for the
So you're looking for like 4 signatures on a bill
Yeah.
or the thing.
Yeah.
Right,
So it doesn't have to always be the same 4, right?
right.
Well,
So
we
like
could
when we
done.
did the DuPont, it
Yeah.
was all of us that signed,
Right.
Right,
so. But I can see where, like, if we keep continuing these Zoom meetings, everybody's not gonna be here to sign.
correct.
Right.
Although Zoom is going away in March, so I
Mm-hmm.
don't, unless it's extended, I don't know.
But then you're holding up a bill if someone's
Right.
sick or, you know.
Right.
What if you just don't
Yeah.
designate a person, you just have 4
Yeah,
signature
4 of
lines
it
and
for
4 of
the
the committee, as
committee.
long as you have.
We could do that too,
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
for,
that is,
just for committee members
Mhm.
and just leave it undesignated,
Yeah, that sounds good, because if no one can make it, then you can. call
Right.
it up,
Right.
right?
You know.
I'm good with that.
Right, as long as there's 4
Yeah.
signatures
Exactly.
on it
right. No, that's good.
Exactly.
that don't look like they're written by the same person.
Just give you my stamp.
No, no,
I'll do this with my left hand.
Everybody spelled it
So
wrong.
I would think that we would need a motion, that states that the way that we're gonna process the bills is that we have 4 undesignated committee members after the approval. To
after the
sign,
full approval of
after
the
full,
committee,
committee to sign the warrant.
4
for the
members
bills.
of the committee
Yes.
will sign the warrant.
So if you have 6 people sign on one night, as long as you have
Yeah,
more
right.
than
Minimum
4.
of 4 people
Good.
Yep.
to sign for the warrant.
The electronic signature.
It
I don't-
can't be electronic signature, it has to be.
Majority approval, because if you say full approval, that means everyone has to approve it. You may have a bill that comes by that says, I'm not paying, so not full approval. but maybe
Oh, right, you're right.
Right,
Majority
majority
at the
of-
meeting.
well, right,
Yes,
right.
you're right.
Yeah.
Good catch, Scott.
Just approved by the committee, right?
Right.
Once
yeah.
it's approved by the committee. Yep. Good.
Anybody want to second the motion?
Second,
Who did the first?
I guess me. I can't make a motion. Okay, so somebody
I
make
was
a
just gonna
motion.
say.
okay, building.
Oh.
So moved and or seconded.
Okay, now we gotta take roll call. I'm waiting for Mike to.
Dr. Gerard.
Yes.
Dr. Ware.
Yes.
Frank Boron.
Yes.
Scott Chapdelaine.
Yes.
Kate Lambert.
Yes, sorry.
Tanya Roman.
Yes.
Marie LaFlamme.
Yes?
Joshua Clark,
Yes.
Carissa Lisi.
Yes.
Michael Sarnelli.
Yes.
Stephen Morno.
Yes.
Katie Collins Calbaugh. Katie, you're muted. Trouble with her mute, I think.
Got it. I was struggling again with the unmute on this new phone, sorry. Yes, yes.
Moving on to the status of the designer selection process. And here with us
Yay.
tonight is our designer, Bert, from Kayla Bienick.
Happy to be here.
So did everybody, so we have a copy of Kayla Bienick's, proposal here for designer services. I don't know if everybody,
No.
I don't think there's only
I have
one.
one if you want to pass it around.
Okay.
I can always cheat
So if
on this.
everybody wants to review it,
I don't have it.
I think the next steps are to approve it. I have to say the MSBA process.
Can we have some
was
discussion on that before?
really- Yeah,
Okay, we did get the original proposal from them and it was higher than the budget that we had in there for the A&E fees. And so we reached back out to Kayla and Benique and asked them if they could reduce that to get within budget. So the budget that was carried of the $1,200,000 that you have for feasibility and schematic design was $725,000. They were at 775, something like that. So we say, can you get it down to 725, or if not, we have something, we have a category cut other, and in other, we have $25,000. We feel that we can utilize $5,000 of the other category to supplement the A&E fees to make it $730,000, which is what they were able to bring it down to.
You didn't sharpen your pencil?
I did. That was sharp. It was a good percentage to come down. So we thank Kayla and Biddy for
Yeah.
doing that.
Good job.
And getting it back in line.
7:30.
730 is what the
Ah,
what
gotcha.
proposal is for. So there would be need to change some monies around from the other category into the A&E fees to augment that.
Okay.
And so how we do that with the MSBA is there's a form called the BRR, which is a budget revision request.
Yeah.
And so we would fill that out and that officially moves money from the other account, and Ray, you're shaking your head, so I imagine
Yep.
you've dealt with those before. Into the A&E category.
Right.
And so it'll change in the ProPay system, which is the MSBA system, the billing system. And we have to notify the MSBA that that's happening.
Geez, we just started, we already have them.
But this is why we have the other category for
Right.
things like
Yeah,
that.
like a contingency.
Yes, essentially.
The MSBA process was very interesting.
Interesting is a good word for it. It just takes learning after 15 years.
Right.
It becomes second nature almost.
Yeah.
It was very interesting.
So I would suggest that the committee approves that movement of those funds from
Okay.
other to A&E to bring up the category for A&E fees to $730,000 and then go for approval of the
Of
proposal.
the proposal. Okay.
They're listening, but they don't have a chance to see this, but.
I don't have my copy. So basically, guys, what we have in front of us is the proposal from Kayla Bienick, which for their services. I don't know if you heard Alan speaking, but basically it came in a little high, so we have to move some money around with the MSBA from 725 to 730. So we have to vote on moving that $5,000 with the MSBA to cover the designer's services. And then we have to vote to accept the contract or the proposal for Kayla Bienick to be our designer, and then that'll get approved and sent off to the MSBA for the final contract from the MSBA. Do you guys have any questions? I know you guys don't have the proposal in front of you, so.
Yeah, so these are standard, design proposal from, you get through feasibility and schematic design.
Mhm.
In their services and, you know, all the meetings that go along with it. So this is very standard.
Okay.
The contract will come next, and that is the MSBA's contract that has all the articles that they have to adhere to for feasibility and schematic design, but this is just their proposal to say, okay, you know, we understand that was part of the RFS that went out to them. So they understand that contract and they're admitting and they're attesting to that within their proposal that they'll follow that contract.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? If nobody has any questions, we'll have to entertain a motion to do the transfer of the $5,000.
Make a motion to transfer $5,000.
Second.
Whenever you're ready.
Doug Gerard,
Yes.
Ware,
Yes.
Frank Boron.
Yes.
Scott Chapdelaine.
Yes.
Kate Lambert,
Yes.
Tanya Roman,
Yes.
Maria Flam,
Yes,
Joshua Clark,
Yes.
Carissa Lisi.
Yes.
Michael Sarnelli.
Yes.
Stephen Morno.
Yes.
Katie Collins Calba is,
Looks like she fell off the meeting.
and Stanley.
Yes.
Unanimous
There you go.
approved.
Does anybody have any questions
Motion
with
for-
regards to the contract from, or the proposal from Kayla and Beanick? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
motion to approve their proposal.
Second.
Doug Gerard.
Yes.
Dr. Ware,
Yes.
Frank Boron,
Yes.
Scott Chapdelaine.
Yes.
Kate Lambert,
Yes.
Roman,
Yes.
Maria Flam.
Yes,
Joshua Clark,
Yes.
Yes.
Michael Sarnelli.
Yes.
Stephen Morno,
Yes.
Katie Collins, Stanley.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Great, next item on the agenda is update on the secretary to the commission. Go ahead, Dr. Ware.
No problem. I'll jump right on in. So I'm waiting for, after we got our designer, who's Kaylin Beanick this time. So what I'm doing on my side, on the school department side, is I'm going to create the posting that will allow for certain members that are in the category of admin assistant to apply for the position. And so that that posting will probably go up in the next week or so, just before the holidays. And then right after the holidays, generally, we usually let postings stay up for 14 days. And so they'll go down, we'll do interviews, and then I'll definitely welcome anyone if you want to, spend some time over at 134 actually, we'll go ahead and do the interviews, and then we can actually pick someone for moving forward now that we have a designer, and that I think other things will start coming a little more steadily. Any questions?
I don't have any questions. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay,
I'll take it.
what are our next steps?
We could go over the schedule that we have.
Absolutely.
Okay, the schedule we have in front of us, you can see the flag has moved. It says 11/13, which was yesterday. So as you all know, the second interview for the design team was on November 5th, which was approved for Kayla Beanick to become the architects for the project. So now with the approval of their proposal, and they will get us the contract signed and get that back to us. They're off and running to the green bar that's below the yellow bar. So now we're into the feasibility phase. And you can see that the start of that is that they're going to start doing existing conditions investigation. Both the architects and the engineers are going to go out and thoroughly look through the building because one of the first things that MSBA looks for as a baseline is what would it cost to upgrade the building and bring it up to code, which is getting more and more expensive to do that nowadays, but that's the baseline that MSBA utilizes to judge all the new concepts or schematics that come forward from that. So while they're getting done doing that, and I think we have 8 weeks tied into that, which is a little bit flexible. There's also, and Bert can talk to this, they're going to start scheduling the visioning sessions that need to take place to start looking at the ed specs for with the school department as to how you want to see the education delivered in the years to come, which is a fun process that takes place. And put together the ed program, and you can read those bullets that are down under the preliminary design program initiative. But what we are shooting for right now is the next deliverable to the MSBA will be the PDP. It's the preliminary design program is what PDP stands for. I don't want to use too many acronyms here, but we're scheduling that, as you can see here, for January 20th coming up. So that may seem like a long time away, but it really is probably 10 weeks or so. So a lot of things have to happen fairly quickly to put that program together. And I guess we can turn to Bert at this point in time if he wants to expound upon the PDP and the process that goes into it, Bert.
PDP is basically, we're gonna, we put together a bunch of different options for you. So I'm gonna back up a little to the visioning.
Okay.
If that's okay.
Sure.
Can you guys on Zoom hear Bert?
Okay, good, because I don't have my mic. Right. So, the PDP, backing up to visioning, that's where we kind of meet with the stakeholders in town and understand, what do you want out of this school? We can design a school, without any input, but it's likely not going to serve Chicopee's needs the way you want it to. So we really want to understand how you deliver your education today and what your vision is for delivering it with a new facility, because you obviously have a lot of opportunities to do things in a new building that you can't do in an antiquated building. So that's what the visioning is for us to really understand what that is. And then we'll take that information and we'll work with the school department and your educators to develop an ed program. And between those two things, that's really our blueprints for how we're going to design your school. There'll be questions that come up along the way, but really that's what we want to evaluate. Whether our design is successful or not moving forward. So those are very important steps to us, and we want to make sure we get those right. Once we have that, that's when we start putting your options together. We're going to start doing options before that's done, probably before your ed program is done. But really for the PDP, you're looking at diagrams, number of classrooms, how adjacencies work, things like that, where the building might be on a site, how your circulation works. And there's going to be multiple of those. As Alan mentioned, you've got a base repair option that we have to do. That's required by MSBA. And we have to investigate at least one option for an ad reno and at least one option for a new build. So what often happens is there's a direction that people want to lean and you get multiple sub options or different approaches for each of those categories, not the base repair, but your ad reno, you might want to see a couple of different ways to approach it. Your new construction, you might want to see a couple of different ways to approach it. And that's what the PDP submission really is. It's kind of summarizing what these options are. In ballpark, comparative cost is what I like to call them at that phase, because there's really nothing for a cost estimated or price except a diagram. So, but to kind of comparatively tell you based on, the program and the size of the building, where it is on the site, we'll come up with a comparative cost for you guys to take that. The next submission is your preferred schematic report. And that's where you kind of, from the options that we initially put forth in the PDP phase, there's going to be one that kind of floats to the top for you that people say, I think this is the best option. This is what reflects what we want to do and move forward with. And so that's what the preferred schematic, it really kind of takes that option and kind of explains the reasons why that was selected over the other options. MSBA's process is very good at documenting in case people that are sitting outside the walls of this room on the committee or different stakeholders in town, but you got a taxpayer that just knows about the school and wants to call MSBA and find out, well, why did they choose that one? MSBA will have all this documented in these submissions. So that's kind of this PSR will take that. At the end of that, we then Once that's approved, we'll move into schematic design of that preferred option, basically.
What kind of weight does the MSBA have on those options? Is it more on the district?
It's the district.
Yeah.
or-
Yeah, it's the district. The MSBA really doesn't get too involved as far as your local decisions and the design of your school. So
Yeah, but
that's a
we,
good thing.
we'll have a meeting with folks from the committee, with
Mm-hmm.
her and ourselves, with the MSBA. And it's called the FAS meeting, which is a facilities assessment. They'll ask questions, they're gonna review the ed plan. And so you'll have that meeting and they just wanna make sure that the design has covered, all the different options that, they looked at everything, they looked at the ed plan. They may have some, make sure you checked out all the considerations.
Distribution of use ed program.
Right.
And they've done hundreds of schools, so they often will have advice too.
Right.
If they see something that they've seen not work so well in other districts, they might suggest that you consider that. I've never really heard them say, no, you can't do that. Some things like that are controlled by DESI, like your distribution of sped spaces, you've got to kind of listen to DESI on that. But there's room for conversations even at that level. So something popped into my head about fishing and I forgot it, so we'll keep moving.
The PDP, when we put together that's actually the square footage of all the spaces that are within that. And that goes back to the MSBA also, because they will look at that and say, they have guidelines as to how many square feet they want for each programmed area. And if there's a reason that you want it larger than what MSBA wants to have it or allows you to have it, they will move that out aside so that is totally covered by the district. And you can do it, but they're not gonna participate in that overage.
Same with number of classrooms. Say you just needed one more classroom for flexibility or something. It's not like they wouldn't allow it if you can justify it, but they won't reimburse it. And your pre-kindergarten classrooms are kind of somewhere in the middle of that, where they pay for you to build the room, but they won't cover the expenses of the FF&E in that room, and they won't cover an expense to make your cafeteria larger to accommodate the pre-K students. So they've got a pretty.
It's pretty regimented, yes.
Yeah.
But we will bring it to your attention if we
Right.
see that, so that we can, raise the question, get it on the table and say, hey, we have, because we want the MSBA to contribute as much as possible for this project, that if there's something that's kicking over their guidelines, we want to make you aware of it and have a dialogue about that to see if it's really a necessary program space that's absolutely desired.
This is something Frank and I talked about, Frank being the building commissioner and me being director of maintenance, touring buildings. And we've talked, we go to a storage closet, there's not, you can't even put a mop and a stack of filters in it. There's no room. And he's like, well, in the new school, we're gonna make sure we have storage. I said, you gotta be careful because MSBA doesn't reimburse you for that. And he was like, wait a minute, we can't make it the way we should make it. I'm like, some of the things, if you wanna expand this classroom, or just to make this closet big or make the classroom smaller to make this closet bigger, they're gonna say, yeah, but that's not reimbursable.
Right, we'll pay for it up to this
That
point.
does come up.
After that is on the
Right.
district.
Yeah, because this is new to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, I thought we
Yeah.
can design this, but I guess there's stipulations.
There
They only
is.
give you so much money for this, so much money for that.
Yeah.
And if we want to change anything, it comes out of the district, like you say, or something.
Correct.
Okay.
Right. We're gonna
Yeah.
minimize that as much as possible
Yeah.
and or at least bring it to your attention so you're aware of it and we can, as a committee, make the
Haven't
rational
told them
decision.
yet when we came in and said, oh, look at all the storage we have.
You can't use the electrical room?
It says no storage on the sign.
Not in Westfield.
Nope, not in Westfield.
And so the MSBA does provide a template. It's called the space summary.
Yeah.
The document that will be filled out and it kind of will highlight different things if you're going over or, additional classrooms, that type of stuff. And it has a good breakdown on it.
And there's a grossing up factor for, circulation and wall thicknesses and things like that, they want you to adhere to as well.
Great.
And then in the preferred schematic report, the Facilities Assessment Subcommittee, they do have many architects on that panel. And they're very intelligent architects that have seen many schools, so they will critique it and make mostly positive critiques that'll go back to the design team and to the committee to things that you could, make better, that they think could be made better. They see it that way.
Yeah. And just so every submission that we're gonna do throughout this entire process, the MSBA, they have 3 weeks to review everything, and then they provide comments back to the design team, to the OPM, to the district. And so then you have a certain amount of time to respond to those comments as well. So it really is a back and forth with the MSBA throughout this entire process.
And the final portion of that is that once their MSBA's committees look at it and approve it, they approve it to go to the board for approval by their board of directors. So that's where you see the blue stars at the bottom of the schedule. Those are all the MSBA board meetings, which are every 2 months. So we work very hard to hit these red stars that you see here, so that they get in there on time to get to the
Yeah,
board meetings.
Those board meetings are once every other month, so if you miss a month, you know, you're missing a lot of time.
We have a question.
Sure.
Where does the Article 97 going to start holding us up, and when do we have to have full control over the land that we're gonna be using for the school?
I think there's, we can ramp up to having that final decision, but right now in feasibility, I think that the intention, and correct me if I'm wrong, Bert, is that we're going to start exploring what can be used in the park area or on the existing school site to do either a code update or an addition remodel or new. And that at the same time, while we're doing that, we should be pursuing what Article 97 is amounting to, and the steps we need to take to get that approval to, do a swap of the land.
Right, it's my understanding that we can't submit our proposal to MSBA until we have full control. Am I correct in saying that?
I would think you could submit the PDP, the preliminary design program, because that's just numbers of rooms that you need to have in a program. What will probably be a catch is when you submit the preferred schematic report, the PSR.
Yep.
They're going to say, do we have control of that site where your preferred schematic is going to be placed on the site?
Okay.
So I would say that we're looking at something that has to happen before May 1st of this coming year.
Okay.
I would start right away, seeing if a waiver is possible.
Okay.
That's the easiest path, if it is possible. But the language in Article 97, it's not like a 1-for-1 clear cut. This is going to work for you guys. It talks about just kind of moving control of the site between different public entities. But that school is on the park, so it's not like you got the school on the school site and the park on the park site, and we're just going to kind of reallocate things. I'm not even sure who takes care of the park and the school grounds. Is it the same group, or is it two different groups?
School.
Right. Right. So
The fence in there is all parts.
yeah. So if we ended up doing a new school on the park, and we'd have to replace the amenities. You got a playground, you got a splash pad, you got the tennis courts, you got basketball courts, a couple ball fields. We'd have to be able to show that we can replicate all that on the site. And I don't know how, like, the open green space with like a soccer field or, practice football fields that you got over there. Because we're building a new school with much better circulation, so you're gonna have a lot more hardscape here for parking lots and bus and parent drop-off separations. I don't know if that will come into play, where they say, well, no, you've lost open green space with this design. But the hope is that they would say, okay, well, you've got a one site, and it's shared between a park and a school, and we're gonna have one site that's shared between a park and the school, and you're not gonna lose any of your recreational amenities there. That's what I would think the premise of your request for a waiver would be, is that, we're not really looking to change anything except make the school new and kind of shuffle things around. But the same people, I guess, that control the park areas and the school areas, we probably have to delineate what those are and just say that they're kind of swapping the areas of the land that they're taking care of.
Right.
That's the smoothest path. If we run into issues where we've got to go through the whole Article 97 process, then I think we look at what our options for land swaps would be. And I don't know at that point what the schedule is right off the top of my head, but we should find that out to see if it makes sense is it easier to find an alternate site for a school, or is it easier to find an alternate site for a land swap, which again, you've got to have the current recreational amenities provided in that. So it's not like you can just buy a swath of undeveloped land and say, this is it. You
Right.
know, it's got to have kind of the same features that Garrity Park has now in order for it to all work. The third option is you can put a fund together to purchase land and develop it, but that fund has to be spent and the land's got to be developed within 3 years. So it's something you don't want to sit on, even though the
Right.
PSRs, we're talking out to May. But if we hit roadblocks or hurdles along the way, challenges that could delay this, it's best to start the process early. And I'd say the easiest thing is to see if you can get a waiver.
How do we start that process of asking for the waiver?
I think that I would be willing to talk with I think it's your legal department, honestly, is gonna pursue this.
Mhm.
But if there's any support they need from us as far as, I don't know, drawings and things like, we're happy to do that. So narratives, so.
Okay.
But I think that it starts probably with your legal department. And they reach out to the environmental affairs, the Secretary of Environmental Affairs or something like that. I can get all the specifics if they need me to.
Okay.
So if they reach out to me and we can kind of coordinate what that next step needs to be, I guess.
Okay. Maybe what I can do is a joint email. And include our legal department and Bert requesting that they start looking into the process of, yeah, the waiver. Yeah. Yesterday.
Put this all together, we don't have land yet, kind of makes me kind of.
The legal department talked about it. They looked into it, they've researched it, they understand the waiver process. But they kind of said they got stuck because they don't know how much land is gonna be used by the school. Until they know the amount of land used by the school, they can't really request a waiver because they don't have any details to submit with the waiver request.
So
So it's kind of like a chicken and
that's
egg.
that's
type
the
of thing.
catch, right? So.
But I think if we do
Again,
like the introductions between,
At
and
least
just say,
get to know
this
each
is
other.
what we wanna
Right,
do.
I think that's the best thing
And
to
then
do.
once we get some numbers as you go through the investigation to provide to the legal department, then they can take over and start the waiver process.
Do you know if they've talked to anyone?
Yeah, the attorneys did contact that group that you mentioned. I don't know what.
Okay, and they're the ones that said that they need to know the allocation for the school, I guess.
We said footprint. They were
The
using the word
footprint, yes.
footprint.
So we
They know the
can-
Footprint of the
The
school.
footprint of the school, we can approximate, and we
Yeah.
could even probably do something conservative, like even right now, they talked about the MSBA template. All you do as the designer, we plug in 340 students, your design enrollment. And that kicks out, you need this many classrooms, you put a default, because MSBA maximizes your grossing factor of 1.5, so you just factor that to it, and it gives me, okay, I know what the net program spaces are. 1.5 grossing factor on it, this is the gross square footage of your building. Where that changes is if we find out that you need a larger gym than what the MSBA allows during this visioning and programming stage, or you find out that you need an extra classroom. But you can be pretty close ballpark to what the gross square footage of your building is, and then it's a matter, is it 1 story, 2 story? So.
Kate and I already kind of did that. We went through MSBA's model schools and we narrowed down with the student, the amount of students we have and kind of the building. We narrowed down, I'm not sure what school district it is, but we found a model school that looked like basically what we were kind of thinking. And we thought we could use those measurements and say, this is our footprint, but it never came to play.
Okay. But if I'm in touch with the legal department, we can kind of have these discussions, I think.
Put together an email tomorrow
Okay,
with everybody on it, as far as legal is concerned, and you, and probably Jim, I'm assuming, do introductions so that we can get the process moving.
okay.
If you could put us on there as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Do you know, any of you three gentlemen, have you dealt with the Article 97 in any surrounding communities and how they worked their difficulties out?
We have not dealt with that specific issue, but
So in East Hampton, we ran into during our titles, during the property survey and title research, their White Brook Middle School, based on the city's, records that were available to us, showed it was still part of Nonotuck Park, which is right behind the
Yeah.
school. So we kind of started this whole thing, but the legal department eventually, it took a while. It was like a year.
Right,
A
yeah,
little bit
it's-
over a year for them to finally find the legislation back in 1978 or something, or 73, that transferred the land legally. So it kind of resolved itself before we had to look at land swaps or anything like that. But, that's how we're kind of familiar with the process and the impact it has on the MSBA kind of modules and how you can progress through it. Westfield was a little bit similar. They didn't get the school that they're building right now in Westfield with us. They had tried to build it 10 years ago or something, and they got all the way to the contractor mobilizing, and they realized that it overlapped protected land and they couldn't do it. The project stopped. They had air handling units on site. They had, it was mobilized. So they actually got themselves into a bit of a financial bind there. And I think that, as a result of a few of these happening in the state, that's why MSBA is kind of really zeroed in on this and focused on it. So it's a good thing for you guys because it's kind of a highlighted condition now that people look for up front before you get down the road too far. So anyways, there's a triangle at that school that's owned by the National Guard next door. And all the way through that, we didn't develop that triangle, even though the city was pursuing getting ownership of that. But just to be on the safe side and conservative, we just kept our development out of that, even though it's within the school's playground fence. So.
Does anybody else have any questions? I do have a tour of the Westfields elementary school scheduled for tentatively December 5th at 5:30. We do have a meeting the following Thursday. I didn't set it up as a meeting, but I'm told that we can all meet to tour the school. And even though we'll all be in attendance, we don't have to post the meeting. I know the mayor can't make it that night, but I know Dr. Ware can. I was going to ask Bert if he would be available
5:30
to
Westfield.
conduct the tour.
I can be there.
Because I'm
Middle school?
sure that you will have questions with regards to the educational plans. And he can describe the spaces a little bit more in detail than anybody else. But it's December 5th at 5:30.
What's the address?
Franklin. Franklin Street.
What's that?
Near the armory and stuff.
Yes, it's right next to the
The
armory.
armory in Westfield. I know.
Can't miss it.
No. I can.
No. If you can make it, by all means, please feel free to join us. I'm sure Mike will be there too, because
Somebody gotta let you in.
somebody's gotta let us in.
Oh,
But yes. No, unfortunately, but I think,
Mike.
Tammy was saying she was gonna have the building open for those few nights anyway, kind of open to the public so the parents can kind of come in. So, but we're gonna be,
Then you give them my TCO.
no, you gotta get the hot water issue fixed.
Result from
But so I'm gonna try to scoot us in, but before the parents start coming in, I think like at 6 o'clock, I think Tammy was shooting for, so. That'll be the 5th at 5:30. So I'll just confirm all that with her tomorrow when I get to work.
How many students are in that school?
350?
That school is 395 plus the pre-K, so it's a little bit bigger than what we're looking at here.
And it's 1 story or 2 stories?
2 stories.
it's an elementary thing.
In elementary, it's
It's
pre-K
pre-K to
through
5.
5
Did they,
or 4.
did they consolidate some of this?
We've been working on it for 6 years, but pre-K to 4. I got this one in my head. So, I'm
wonder
switching gears
what-
already to take it.
It was a little bigger than you thought, huh?
Does anybody else have any input? So we will be having a meeting the following Thursday too as well, because I'm assuming that we'll probably have to vote on some bills and so it'll be 2 Thursdays back to back. I understand that, but one of them is not a meeting. It is optional. You don't have to come.
Thursday. For me. It's 3
You're
Thursdays.
special.
Right there, oh, that's you.
Yeah.
Um,
Remember the time.
and then the following Thursday, we'll have our meeting
Yeah.
here. December 10th. 12th?
The 12th,
12th.
12th is the Thursday after.
We did have a question and just to bring it up, we're starting to get some conflicts within our second weeks of every month.
Oh.
So
Okay.
we're just wondering, is the second Thursday of every month a hard date for this committee, or could it be the first or the third week? Is there any leeway there? And please say no, if you don't want.
Third week of every month, I'm on another committee for the city.
Yeah.
Okay, so it
Yeah.
so it does not work.
I
Okay.
think there was like I think this was like the only, for the majority that it worked.
Okay, no, I just thought I'd ask because we're
We
starting.
could pick another day maybe during the week.
No, because that's the problem. Our week is
It's the
filling
whole
up,
week.
and so all of a sudden you're never home, you know.
I get it,
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, we
If
get
it, I understand the pain that next month it falls on my son's birthday, so he's pretty upset with me.
Yeah.
So, but does anybody have anything else?
Mhm.
Okay, if not, I'll make call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Oh, we have to take roll call.
Doug Gerard. Dr. Ware.
Yes.
Frank Boron.
Yes.
Scott Chapdelaine.
Yes.
Kate Lambert,
Yes.
Roman. Maria LaFleur,
Yes.
Joshua Clark,
Yes.
Chris Alisi.
Yes.
Michael Sarnelli, Stephen Morno.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Good
Good
night,
Good night.
Yeah.